A very good morning to you all. My name is Namatai Kwekweza. I'm 20 years old, I'm a young woman, and today I'm representing We Lead, which is a youth leadership development organization. Now, I want to start from a perspective of the neuroscience of conflict, and please assist me by giving me your full attention. In the human mind, there's what we call an amygdala in the human brain. And this amygdala is an almond-shaped little set of neurons in our brain. And whenever a human being is threatened, the amygdala swells up and it releases toxic chemicals into the human body. And one of those most toxic chemicals is fear. Now, when a person is now afraid, when a person feels threatened, when a person believes that something is going to harm them, we often resort to sort of retreating and to sort of seeing that thing that threatens us as something that we should hate. And then we react. And then the fear just takes over our mind. And we fail to think from a rational perspective. We fail to view the world from a perspective of logic, from a perspective of reason, from a perspective of let's come together and dialogue. You see, I believe that each and every one of us who has been through the experience that we experienced in the 2 weeks in January has gone through that phase where they were, fearful, and we began to hate and we began to see the other person as the opponent and the enemy. Now, today I've been asked to come here and talk about the young people, and I believe, Mr. MC, that I need more time. I need more time to express that young people are some of the most vulnerable people, and these are the people who have been mostly affected by what has happened. And the fact of the matter is that we have come here sometimes sort of filtered and sort of censored. We've been told, oh, talk about this, don't talk about that. When you mention the sensitive part, say these are allegations. But I want to talk firstly about rape. I am a young woman, and I believe that we have to speak against such things because these things will not bring peace in the long run. Whether these women are coming forward and they're talking about it as allegations, these are young women. Most of the people who've been affected are young women, and as a young person, I can only stand to say that we have to talk about it in an objective fashion. And we cannot have a dialogue such as this one and leave and not have talked about this. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to talk about is that we as young people are the hardest hit by everything that is happening. If you look at the people who've been hardest hit by the violence, the people are getting abducted, beaten up, the people are getting arrested. We've had reports of young people as young as 6 years old, as young as 11 years old, being taken and beaten up. We have to talk about these things because they are affecting young people. Now, please do bear with me here. I do not believe in the politics of generationalism. I believe in intergenerational dialogue. I believe that the young people and the old people should come together and talk in full consensus, but let us tell the truth. Because the truth is the only thing that will set us free. It might make us uncomfortable. It might make us a bit hesitant, but it is the only thing that can bring healing, and it is the only thing that can set us free as a nation. Moving on to the next thing that I want to talk about is the issue of diversity. In this nation, we struggle with diversity. We struggle with people who are different. It's like how I will look at myself and say that I'm beautiful, so everyone who doesn't look like me is ugly. It's like how I can look at myself, I'm a relatively tall young woman, so every young woman who's not my height is short. It is how I can look at myself and say, I'm intelligent, so everyone who does not reason the way I do is stupid. But that's not true. Just because someone does not look like you doesn't mean that you are beautiful and they're ugly. It means they're different. Just because someone does not share the same sentiments in opinion as you doesn't mean that you are better off intellectually. It just means that you are different. We need to come to a state where we can agree to disagree, where we can agree to agree, and where we can agree to compromise, and know that the other person, regardless of how different they are still important, and their opinion matters. The next thing that I want to talk about is dialogue, the importance of dialogue. We come to these meetings and we say, oh, this dialogue, we're talking. But in actual fact, we need to understand dialogue in its more holistic fashion. Dialogue is when we come together in an attitude of we want to compromise and we want to hear the other party. It is an attitude of where we come together and we want to say, listen, we want this to be genuine. We want results at the end of the day. I've often told people that every war that has ever been fought, you talk about the world wars, every genocide, when we have had gross malpractices in any nation, all of that ended when there was a dialogue. But now I want to bring some new perspectives to this. What if we made dialogue our culture? What if we made it our everyday living? What if we decided to have dialogue before we've got 4 million people dead? What if we decided to have dialogue before we've got a lot of women raped? What if we decided to talk about it before we've got people who are dead? You see, I believe the dialogue works. But the only problem that we have is that we often have it when it's too late. We have dialogue when people are already dead. We have dialogue when women are already raped. We have dialogue when things are already bad. Why don't we have it before all of this? You see, even prior to all this violence, to all this, this tension, we could already see that things were leading us there. Why didn't we have the conversations then? Why have them now after all those people are dead, after all those women have been raped, after all this vandalization, after all this brutality? We have to set our objectives straight. The final thing that I'm going to say before I leave, I think it's very, very exceptional that we've got so many great and awesome men of God. You see, Ezekiel Guti once said that people are people. We must learn to realize that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that makes us different. We are people. We're just people. We are just people. Be able to look at the next person and see a person. Let us not look at another person and see a white Zimbabwean. Let us see a Zimbabwean. Let us not look at another person and see MDC or ZANU-PF. Let us see a Zimbabwean. Let us not look at another person and see, oh, this church and that church. Let us see a Zimbabwean. We are all people. And the moment that we come to this realization, it means that we are ready and for peace, and we are ready to talk about things in objective fashion that are leading us into a future of prosperity. But as long as we are coming together and we are not telling each other the truth, then we have a problem. I'm so sorry, I'm a very frank person, but thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day.
We are happy we have finally been granted bail. It has been a long night for us in the cells. We are very grateful for our lawyers and the support that we have received reports that there was tremendous support that is coming in from all media, social media, and I really want to thank you guys. For me, for now, it's time for me to go home and be with family and to get in blankets because it was so cold in there, but I really thank the process and I really thank the support that we got from Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights and for every one of you who came to support us. It has been quite a trying night for us and it's been a long night. Namatai actually couldn't sleep yesterday. But we are now waiting for the judgment, which is going to be taking place on the 20th of July. So it's something that we are now pressing for. So yeah, I can't say much more other than that. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, I think maybe what I will say is that I strongly am going to affirm what Vongai has said, and just add on to the gratitude that I feel for everyone who has supported us, Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, Scanlon and Hordeners, and a lot of people that prefer not to be mentioned, but who have been really supporting us, both on social media, in the media, and just generally around. I think maybe what I just want to emphasize is that people should not get stuck in the idea that we got arrested and it turns into a media frenzy. People should be asking why we got arrested. Why were we out there in the first place? Because this is a big conversation that we're not having as a nation, and we must be in a position not to get caught up in us being arrested. There's absolutely nothing special about us. We're just ordinary citizens, we're just people. What people now have to be asking themselves is, why did this young woman get arrested? And more people have to now start showing up to actually ask those questions as to why are these processes around the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 2 being done with very minimum public consultation, and yet we are amending the Constitution that will affect millions of Zimbabweans. But otherwise, I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone who stood with us. Prison is a very cold place and it's very dark. And it was a very horrible and traumatic experience, but we're grateful for the support that we got.
What are the bail conditions, Namatai?
Okay, so for the bail conditions that we got, we had to pay 3,000 RTGS, and we had our passports taken away. We also have to report to Harare Central every Friday, and we will be appearing in court again on the 20th of July. So that's basically what we have been told will happen.
Well, what will be your message to young people like you out there, precisely on the amendment bill, seeing that was your cause?
Okay. So my message to young people out there is just that you should remember that the constitution of this country is the supreme law. upon which every other law finds its validation and it finds its force. And if our constitution is amended and young people are not involved, we must understand that we have the longest time to be governed under that constitution. So it's actually a matter of our interest to make sure that we contribute to the process meaningfully and genuinely. And the process cannot be cosmetic, it cannot be tokenistic, it cannot be rigged. It has to be a genuine process where people are asked and young people participate, especially young people participate, because you will be governed under this constitution for the longest time. I keep giving reference to the 2013 consultations. People went all the way to districts, they went, but now we're in the middle of a pandemic. And people can't really move, and these consultations have not been done at a ward level, at a district level. They were only done in provinces, and a lot of people do not have access to make their contributions. So to the young people, we need to question that, and we need to be in a position where we actually interact and engage with our leaders in a peaceful way, of course, to actually find out what exactly is happening and how can we make sure that the process becomes transparent and young people are genuinely consulted and included.
Does this experience break your heart?
Definitely. I think that the fact that the constitution is being amended, it breaks our hearts, especially for me personally, and as well as the way that it has been done. For me, it just leaves much to be desired. For instance, the Harare consultations were done on Zoom, which is a platform that can only accommodate between 100 to 500 people. Worse off, it was done online. And because it was done online, some people don't have access to data, they don't have access to Wi-Fi. So we are just, reserving the privilege, comment, or to contribute to what the constitution of this country will be to a few privileged individuals who have money, who have access to, internet or whatever. So I just feel like because the constitution of this country was done by consultations that put everyone on an equal playing field, whereby people could actually attend in person, there is actually a need to delay this process until the pandemic is over, because right now we shouldn't be focusing on that. People are probably hungry or depressed somewhere. Let's focus on those issues that have that are directly dealing with people's well-being and welfare in the pandemic. We can do with the constitution much later when the pandemic is over and everyone can participate freely. I mean, what's the rush? That's the big question. So I think that would be my response to that.
Do you feel safe after this experience?
I think our interview ends right now. Thank you. Thank
Was
you
it your
much.
first time in police cells?
Sorry?
Was it your first time in police cells?
Yes, this was both our first time getting arrested.
Okay.
So it was it's pretty awful, bad experience.
All right. Thank you so much.